Hi folks, I'm Chris. This is my show, My Life is an Adventure, and this is part 2 of Gilmore Girls, A Year in the Life, a spoiler-heavy review. I'm not going to talk about what I just talked about. I will probably mention some stuff I forgot. Yeah. So I left off. A bunch of these women were doing the wild, and the park rangers kept asking the book or the movie, and making cracks about it. I've never seen the wild. I'm sure it's a wonderful movie, but I imagine it was a dig at the female midlife crisis or whatever. It seemed like it. It seemed like she thought it was, Amy Sherman-Palladino thought it was stupid. So yeah. So anyway, Lorelai comes back from that and tells Luke she wants to get married. They planned the wedding very quickly. In fact, she'd already had it planned before she even told him about it, which I'm sure the Gilmore guys are going to have a heyday with. And I kind of thought it was rude and disrespectful, but seemed perfectly normal for the character. So we see all the planning for the wedding. Suki shows up at the very end to make several cakes, argue with Michelle, and then quickly leave the kitchen. She smells all the different cooks that Lorelai's brought in, and I think one of her last lines is, if Rachel Ray rearranged my pantry or whatever, something. She says, if Rachel Ray rearranged my pantry, I think is what she says. And then she goes out to argue with Michelle some more. So that was really funny. Luke has only got two people coming to the wedding, or a few people coming to the wedding. TJ and Liz, who they rescue from a cult, who get kicked out of a cult because they're too weird for it. But we never see them, which I thought was a shame because I really liked TJ, and Liz was okay too. But we never see them. We see Jess. Jess is supposed to be at the wedding, but then Kurt comes over while Jess and Luke are talking and tells Luke, I've ruined the wedding, decorated way too much and was supposed to go there to make sure there was a table for presents or whatever, and I started using glitter and glue and ribbons and whatnot. Now it doesn't look like one of the town's regular festivals. So he's asleep on the floor. Luke's asleep on the couch. No. Yeah, he's asleep on the floor. Luke's asleep on the couch. Rory, I don't remember. I guess Rory's asleep in her bed. But they decide to get married very late at night because Lorelai thinks, we should have been married by now. It's odd that we're not married by now. And so she talks Luke into going and finding the Reverend, who is up late because of bingo. They have a very quick ceremony with Luke, Lorelai, Michelle, the Reverend, who we've seen in multiple episodes of Gilmore Girls, and Lane. No Caesar. No Jess, who is just friends with Rory. Even though he does the same role he did in season 6, which is break her out of her funk. And pause because my... Okay, so yeah, my brother was in surgery today. I didn't go because my sister-in-law and my niece and nephew and my parents all went, and I don't drive. I do drive, I don't have a car, and it was since my brother was in surgery and my sister-in-law doesn't drive, my parents had to drive, and they didn't have enough room for all of us in the car. Because obviously my brother couldn't drive home from the surgery. That's... You didn't need to know all that, but yeah. So anyway, it's a very quick ceremony in the town gazebo with the Reverend Michelle. Like, I don't understand why Michelle is there, other than he was a main character who didn't get near enough to do in the series. And Lane was there, who also didn't get near enough to do in the series. But, like, she was there as Luke's best man. I'm not sure why it wasn't Jess or Caesar. I guess because they weren't there, they weren't part of the main cast. Emily wasn't there. Like, I don't know if she was going to be at the wedding. The wedding was the next day, and she was still in Nantucket. So the only reason I can think it was the 5 of them plus the Reverend was because they were the 5 that were still part of the main cast in the beginning that were still around. Because Kirk wasn't there. They let Kirk sleep on the floor, stay asleep on the floor at the house. And I think Luke at one point texts him and tells him it looks perfect because he was worried he'd messed up the decorations. But he's not actually at the wedding. So yeah, they get married. We don't get to see their happily ever after. Because we end with Lorelai and Rory sitting on the steps of the gazebo. Now, here are the heavy spoilers. I was convinced at the end that Emily was going to die. Because they kept cutting back to her at Nantucket at this house that she bought. It opens up and Lorelai talks to her. Like, I think Lorelai calls her on the phone, or I'm trying to remember exactly what happened. I just watched it. She wakes up and reaches down and puts on tennis shoes, and we see her, and right then I was like, she's gonna die. She's gonna die, but she doesn't. And she goes to her job, talking about whaling, and she's very Quentin Tarantino-esque about the whaling industry. Much to the horror of these kids under 10 that she's talking to. Maybe not all of them are under 10, but I mean, even the parents are horrified. But she's got a blazer, and she's wielding this harpoon, and it's kind of funny because she's finally got she's got a career or whatever, but, like, I was sure she was going to die right then and there. And then during the wedding, it kept flashing to her in Nantucket. And, like, she goes out and sits on a swing or in a chair or whatever and looks at the ocean and the sunrise or something, I don't remember. And I'm like, she's gonna die. I was so pissed off. I was ready to throw something at my TV. I was like, she's gonna die. She didn't die. Spoiler alert, Emily makes it through the end. Rory's two big storylines. Like I said, Rory has been in a rut. She can't find a job. She tries to apply for. She tries to write a book, like a biography for Alex Kingston. That's who played River Song in Doctor Who. Gosh, You'll get that if you watch the other part first. But that woman is completely batshit crazy, and I think is kind of a stand-in for Amy Sherman Palladino. Like, she's very eccentric, a bit boozy, curly hair. But yeah, so I thought that was very, so I think she was a stand-in for Amy Sherman Palladino. Maybe one of the many. So that doesn't work out. She keeps getting calls from this online magazine that she doesn't want to work for. It's not Reddit, but it's or the Huffington Post or whatever. Like, Reddit's not a magazine, I guess. But it's very gossip column-y stuff, and she thinks that this woman who is younger than she is, it's Sasha from Bunheads, wants her. Like, she thinks she's got the job. She goes in thinking she's got the editor job, or got this job to, in the bag so she can make money, and she doesn't got it. The woman, she goes in with this woman thinking she's going to pitch herself to the girl, and the girl thinks Rory's going to basically pitch story ideas, and Rory, and sell her on hiring Rory, and Rory thinks, the girl thinks Rory. It's all very confusing, but it's not what she thought, and she gets turned down like in the lobby of the building that she's in, which is funny and I'm sure very realistic, but of course upsets her. She tries to write a piece for a magazine that I don't remember what it's called, but it was one I had never heard of. I had to Google to see what it was, and apparently it's a real magazine, and I'm sure, I'm almost betting that they were the real editors of this magazine that they had her have a meeting with. But she actually has to get Mitch and Huntsberger to help her get this meeting. And then they talk to her about a couple pieces that she's thinking about writing. Then she goes to do... but she's writing this book, so she doesn't take him up on it, and then she takes him up on one of the pieces, and we actually see quite a bit of scenes from that, and it doesn't go anywhere. She doesn't like it or whatever. It was their idea, so she doesn't really care. She's not going to write it. But at one point she has, oh, damn it, see, now I'm wondering. Oh, wow. We'll table that. Taylor wants to have a Stars Hollow musical. That's where Sutton Foster comes in, and the guy from Smash, and I think Vinny from Doogie Howser, because he was also in Newsies. But I think it's him. He just wasn't in the credits. So yeah, and the musical is awful. Like, it's exactly as bad as, say, the Stars Hollow Museum was, but with music set to it. And of course, there's a riff on Hamilton. And it's just bad, but everyone loves it except Lorelai. Like, it upsets her how bad it is, and it upsets everyone else how not into it Lorelai is. So she goes away, and then Taylor goes on a cruise with someone. Sounds like a guy, but he's not actually mentioned. But we don't ever see him. And comes back, and he's written another song, and it's very heartfelt and very touching, and you can tell it's exactly what Lorelai's feeling. Hell, it was exactly what what I'm feeling right now. Something about not being unbreakable. But it was very, heartbreaking and emotional. One of a couple places that Kevin T. Porter from Gilmore Guys is going to cry. There are a couple other moments. But yeah, it's really emotional. So anyway, but of course, it only affects Lorelai, and everyone else comes out of that showing saying, "Oh yeah, that's a downer. It needs to be cut." So yeah. So like I said, I'm not sure if Sutton Foster, it's Kevin T. Porter, Sutton Foster. I'm not sure if Sutton Foster is playing herself or not, but she does a wonderful job with that part. Jess, when he comes to town and sees Rory at the Stars Hollow Gazette, tells her she needs to write a book. And she's not sure about what he tells her. It needs to be about her and her mom. And she tells her mom, after she's already committed, she's written an outline for 5 chapters, either 3 or 5 chapters. And her mom tells her, "No, you're not writing a book about us. I don't want my life out there. I've kept my life private for a reason. You're not doing this." And of course that upsets Rory. And so they get in this huge fight. Lorelai goes away. Rory has the Life and Death Brigade event with the boys and Logan, and sleeps with Logan one last time. But that's it. He offers her a place to go write her book in Maine, and she tells him no. She knows the place where she needs to write a book. She goes to her grandparents' house, which is closed down because Emily's in Nantucket. She walks into the door to the dining room and sees the family at the dining room table, including Richard at the head of the table. A flashback scene. Obviously, it's a used footage used from the original series, and you hear bits and pieces from old episodes. And then she goes into her grandpa's study and sees him sitting there at the desk. And of course, it's another footage from the previous series. She goes and sits behind her desk. You can see her portrait that her grandma had painted from season 2, I think it was, sitting there, hanging on the wall. So she writes 3 chapters. Takes him to her mom right before they reconcile before the wedding. Takes him to her mom. Tells her to read him, let her know. Her mom says no. Or later on, her mom gives it back to her, and she goes, "You've read it?" She goes, "No, I'm not going to read it. I'll read it when it's done. And if I don't like it, I'll just sue you." And Rory says, "That's good publicity. So sue me whether you like it or not." She tells Jess she's wrote the first 3 chapters, or she's like, first 3 chapters. And Luke asks her what that's about. Ask him what that's about. And he's like, oh, it's just a joke between friends. And he goes, just friends? And he's like, yeah, just friends. But he looks in on her through the dining room, through the window. She tells Dean she's going to write the book, and he's like, am I going to be in it? And she's like, is that okay? She's like, I have to be. She's like, she's going to tell him she's going to be very polite about him, and that she'll change his name, but he's going to know it's him and whatnot. And he's like, he is okay with it, hesitant but okay with it. Of course, it's called The Gilmore Girls, and there's a moment where Lorelai tells her, drop the, it's cleaner, just Gilmore Girls, it's cleaner, which is a very Aaron Sorkin moment. Obviously from Social Network. Quick step aside. There's a great overlapping storyline where the diner still has the sign that says no cell phones, but it's got free Wi-Fi, but you have to have the password. And every time someone asks for the password, Luke tells him something different. Like, the first time he tells it, and like he's very specific about what the password is, like uppercase such and such, lowercase such and such, whatnot. And then the next time someone asks for it, he tells them something completely different, and I'm like, that was something completely different. And he's like, all lower cases. I'm like, yeah, that's something completely different. Well, that you see that twice, and then like a few scenes later, Taylor's in there trying to convince him to do something, and another woman keeps asking him for the password, and keeps saying, no, it's not right. And Taylor finally is like, of course it's not right. He tells everyone the wrong password because he doesn't want you sitting in here using his Wi-Fi and blah, blah, blah. And so that, of course, Luke's heart is warmed by that and agrees to do what Taylor wants. And then later on, Jess actually just takes the router and gets rid of it completely because Luke's accidentally given away the right password when he's upset because Lorelai's off doing the wild. And so Jess takes the router, unplugs it, and everyone gets up and leaves and is all upset about it. Like one guy actually says this is bogus. There's one scene, and I don't remember exactly when it is, who she's talking to. I don't think it was Headmaster Charleston. And I don't think it was... It had to have been either Headmaster Charleston or her dad. She tells him she's 5 by 5, and then she tells him she's just been watching a Buffy marathon, and some things just stick. Now, of course, Amy Sherman Palladino was a huge fan of Buffy. Jane Espenson used to write for the show. Danny Strong is in the original series and the revival. So it makes sense. And of course, she used to marathon episodes of Buffy while writing episodes of Gilmore Girls. So of course, it's a nod to herself. Another nod to herself is when they're doing the Life and Death Brigade minute. They're all wearing hats, funky hats, and Rory's looks suspiciously like Amy Sherman Palladino, one that she would wear. One of the cakes that Suki makes is covered in hats. Another nod to Amy Sherman Palladino. Rory goes to talk to her. Rory gets a call says, what time. She's like, okay, I'll be there. Tells her mom it's nothing or whatever. Goes to talk to her dad. Tells her dad, mom's ask about Gigi. We get a brief synopsis. She's living in Paris with her mom, I guess, still. She tells her dad, mom's getting married, right? He goes, no. He goes, I'm not very good at following up on emails, but I'm sure I did. And Rory's like, I just want to make sure you're not going to show up at it or whatever. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Phew. And then she starts grilling him about why he wasn't there in her life. And at first, I thought it was just about the book, so she could, write about it in the book. And then it hit me. She did the unthinkable. Or Amy Sherman Palladino did the unthinkable. And I just keep waiting. And waiting. And waiting. The final 4 words. The final 4 words. The wedding's done. Lorelai comes. Luke and Rochelle and the Reverend and Lane walk off. They sit down on the steps of the gazebo. Mom, yeah, I'm pregnant. Okay, now, I was assuming, because, like I said, she talked to her dad about why he wasn't in her life. Was it his choice? Nothing was ever going to come in between your mom and you. I saw it from the moment I laid eyes on the two of you. Blah, blah, blah. I thought it was just about the book. And then I realized, no, she's asking because she needs to know if the father of her child needs to be involved in her child's life. And is she going to have to, or should she tell? I don't know if she's considering not telling him, or if she's just considering not letting him be involved in her child's life. But it's very possible that she can't let him, or that she won't be able to let him be in charge, or be a part of the child's life, because she has a one-night stand that I almost mentioned earlier and didn't, because I didn't want to ruin the obvious surprise. I was under the assumption that it was Logan's, either from one of the many times she'd slept with him before, or the one time, the night they slept together during the Life and Death Brigade. But the night they slept together during the Life and Death Brigade wasn't too far from the wedding, so I'm not sure she would have known. I think it was the one night stand she had with a guy that she met standing in line at a comic shop who was dressed as a Wookiee. And in which case, I'm not sure she even knew the guy's name. So, yeah, that's my spoiler-heavy review. That's the end. Emily doesn't die. Luke and Lorelai get married. Rory's writing a book called Gilmore Girls, which I felt was a little too reminiscent of the Dawson's Creek finale, in which he's directing a series based on him and Joey and Pacey growing up, called The Creek. Rory's pregnant. I don't know how I feel about Rory being pregnant. But I have to think that we're going to see more of the Gilmore Girls. Either another 4 seasons, or a movie, something where we see this child, the new spa, something. It's got to be something. That's my review. Tell me what you thought. My pop culture plugs are, because I'm stealing this from Gilmore Guys, The Good Place, starring Kristen Bell and Ted Danson. Such a good show. Watch it. It comes back in January. My other pop culture plug is Anne Kendrick's new book, Scrappy Little Nobody. Very hilarious. If you've read Tina Fey's Bossy Pants and Amy Poehler's Yes Please, you're going to love Scrappy Little Nobody. I guarantee it. Alright, that's my review, folks. It's an hour and 30 minutes and 43 seconds. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought. Bye.